One of the most common pieces of feedback I get about the coffee table books is, I wish I knew the story behind why you did these books. I've come to learn that as a society we put conditions on how things have to be before we can have or do something. We think there is a way that things have to be done, and therefore we squash our own dreams. We are so scared of failure and being judged that we just don't try. There are always going to be people who don't agree with the things we do or believe in. But as I've learnt, I'm following my own truth and my passion, and that's all that matters. The truth is, many people won't agree with some of the decisions I've made in life. But if I hadn't made them, I wouldn't be where I am today. Looking back, the decision to go on the Brinkworth Cattle Drive was a major turning point in my life. I probably still don't grasp the significance of being involved in the world's biggest cattle drive. As I guess coming off the land, it was like any other day sitting on the back of a horse behind a mob of cattle. But little did I realise that one person's decision to let me follow and photograph the cattle drive would send me on a completely new life path. There wasn't much I didn't endure on that trip. Coming from a cushy corporate job, I went to no air conditioning, constantly breathing the dust of 18,000 cattle, extreme heat and no ability to hide from the sun, a sore bum from being in the saddle 24/7, to having to break down barriers with drovers who thought I was media, to flat tyres and more flat tyres, running out of money, to the death of my best mate. And did I mention flat tyres? I've always laughed when people said to me that I'd gone out and lived their dream. It's not as romantic as one thinks, but leaving my secure job to start my own business really was the best decision I ever made. People talk about being an expert in their field, but I believe being a beginner is more advantageous. Not knowing what to do or how to do it meant that I could test new ways and differentiate my business from other authors and photographers. I've always been one for not following the norms, and I've learnt to be okay with the unknown. If I believed the opinions of everyone I encountered on my travels, my story would be one of sorrow and regret, not fulfilling dreams and creating success. People made all kinds of assumptions about me when I produced The Driver. You're a woman, what would you know about trucks? You're media, you're out to get us. You were hit by a truck, why would you do something good for our industry? You'll go broke trying to do that on your own. I brushed their comments aside and I got on with it. The busier I became during the production of The Driver, the more I realised that a person's success is proportionate to the reliability, capability and dedication of the team around them. I had an incredible team. While I focused on capturing the true outback spirit of the guy who drives to provide for his family, who listens to the wireless when there's a radio station in reach and gives a friendly wave to the other trucks he passes on the road, his wife, who brings up their children without him as he's away carting loads from A to B to service our country. The guy who has dinner at the roadhouse with other truckers in a recurring friendship struck up at various points along the highways. The husband and wife team that drive two up and hardly ever pull up. And the people who cart awkward stuff with an entourage of support crew in front and behind to guide them. I also realised something about myself. I had a striking realisation that life is all about ownership. Ownership of our choices. I was responsible for the way I'd reacted to every situation in my life. It is this reaction that defines the significance of an event. I could have seen my run-in with a truck as a negative, but I chose to turn it into an opportunity. I thought about another life-changing event from my childhood and realised that how I reacted to it at the time saw me become the high-achieving woman I am today. Realising this was the most powerful skill I had learnt. I own my choices. I may not have my own biological support network, but I've become grateful for the genuine care and support of the transport dads I met during the production of The Driver. Many people said I couldn't break into the tightly coupled road transport industry, but they were wrong. Most of my career has been random, more opportunistic than strategic. This is both a feature and a flaw. The downside is that I've missed opportunities when a link was missed. On the upside, being supple has mapped my winding road, crammed with unexpected situations and extreme circumstances filled with amazing stories and adventure. Of all of my adventures, there was no journey greater, more taxing or more gratifying than producing the Grower series. It was the biggest gig of my life. Documenting the passion of Australian farmers was an opportunity not to be missed. But I had no idea what I was going to see or what I was going to learn, so I wasn't sure how this book was going to unfold. It didn't take long to realise that one book was not going to be enough to cover the enormity of the industry. So it became two: The Roots of Australia and The Heartbeat of Australia. In 365 days, I never slept in my bed once, and I spent time on 551 properties to cover every aspect of Australian agriculture. The people I met taught me so much, not only about the land, but about life, business, and myself. My roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, anything's possible kind of attitude opened a lot of doors for me. Being raised on a station and knowing how to work livestock was also a huge advantage, as I was an extra set of hands when trying to create what was seemingly impossible livestock shots. I rolled up people's driveways full of enthusiasm and buzzing from the last property I'd visited. I'd share stories and show them videos of where I'd been, and then we'd get to planning the shots for their property. The days were long and the weeks blended into months. Life on the road was pretty lonely on my own. I had to keep my energy high for the shoots, but in between I would often fall flat. It was a roller coaster ride. I would often look to Barney for a reprieve. He always had something to say with his bushy eyebrows and glaring eyes. He became his own celebrity in his own right during the production of the Grower series, and one of my many sources of support when I was challenged. Through the Winding Road, you will read all about the juggling act of my own well-being, this mammoth project and the risks I took to self-publish. I dedicate this book to you. If you find yourself at a junction in your life, not knowing which way to turn, lean into it and take a step. If you're frozen by fear or held by uncertainty, lean into it and take a step. If your winding road is marked by never-ending twists and turns and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, believe you can and you will. Lean into it and take a step.